Hey guys, PD Grizz here. Today I wanted to talk about one of my latest acquisitions, and that is a Swisschamp with the SOS Kit. The SOS Kit was a, quote unquote survivalist package that came with a sheath and as a upgrade package for the Swisschamp. The usability of it as for in real survival situation is questionable at best, but it is just a pretty neat little package, so I couldn't resist grabbing it for myself. So first we'll take a look at the knife, and this may not have been the knife that came with this SOS kit. I've got some questions about that, but it doesn't matter to me at all. But this knife is in such good condition, and the kit appears to be been used quite a bit, so I just don't see how the knife escaped unscathed from all that use. But anyway, it's a Hoffert's model. In case you don't know, Hoffert's was a retailer. They were one of the earlier retailers of Swiss Army knives in the United States, and they were such a big retailer that Victorinox would often give them their own stamp. They even putting tang stamps on the knife instead of Victorinox. And they also had other companies brand their products for them. And yeah, they were basically just a department store that happened to have good taste in knives. So you will see plenty of Swiss Army knives with the Hoffert's logo. Earlier ones would actually have a tang stamp, and then the later ones you'll see it just hot stamped onto the scale like this. And it's very typical for them. If you kind of notice, it's kind of not as strong toward the end. It's just how they look. I mean, I've seen ones that are even perfect condition and the ink seems to fade towards the end. So I just think that's just something that had to do with the stamping process. So let's go over the tools of the Swisschamp and pretend that everybody here watching doesn't already know what they are. So we've got a pen blade. Gotta love the pen blade. The main blade with the 4-line Victorinox stamp with the large V, and the reverse stamp with the crossbow and the Officer Swiss. The next layer is the file. Now, the earlier files are slightly different. I read it somewhere, I believe it was explained that these are actually like a case-hardened material, whereas the later files are just cut into metal that's already hardened. So here's a modern file, so you can kind of see the difference. The color is noticeably different. The texture to the filings is way different. The shape's slightly different. But these ones seem to be more coarse and more aggressive files. But I prefer the old ones. These old ones seem to last a little longer. These ones seem to wear out if you put them to heavy use. The next layer is the wood saw. Of course, this wood saw will have a brushed machine surface since it's from after the mid-60s. But still, fantastic wood saw. The next tool is everyone's favorite, the fishing tool, which has your descaling part and your hook remover at the tip. The idea being that you can push this into the fish's flesh and give you something to push against with the hook. I don't know. I just think pliers are easier. But they do work great for, there's a number of security screws, and you'll see, you might notice them sometimes in like public restrooms on like paper towel holders. They'll be on all kinds of control panels and stuff that they don't want the public accessing easily, but they'll just be a screw with 2 dots in the head, and these actually fit a lot of those security screws, interestingly enough. The scissors. Of course, the scissors are the bomb. Everybody loves the Victorinox scissors. We all know they're the greatest scissors of all time. So what more can I add to them other than they are fantastic? And here's the pliers. Now, these are the earlier version of the pliers. The pliers being released, I believe, in 85 or 86, something like that. But the original version of the pliers lacks something that they added on the later ones. They added this crimping part here for crimping fishing line weights, or, you know, whatever you want to, whatever electrical terminals you might be able to fit in there. So that's a feature they added on to later ones. So you don't see that on your pliers. You know, you got pliers from the first couple of years they were introduced. And the next layer, the GOAT, the inline Phillips, the best Phillips option on a Swiss Army knife. If you're talking about the inline Phillips versus the backside Phillips, this is the way to go. But yeah, the backside Phillips is cool if you don't have a model with this. Plus, this only comes with either the light layer or the magnifying glass layer. So if you don't like having the built-in flashlight or a magnifying glass, then you're kind of out of luck as far as Victorinox goes with getting inline Phillips. Unless you go for the Delamont series, which you can get that little goofy multi-wrench thing across from the inline Phillips. I think you might be better off with the magnifying glass. Then the final layer is the bottle opener and can opener. Nothing spectacular to see there. On the underside, we've got a corkscrew. Comes with the eyeglass screwdriver. And this eyeglass screwdriver, if it's got the if it's rounded and not hex shaped, like looking down from this way, the first couple of years they were just rounded, and then later they changed them to hexagonal shape. So if you see a rounded one, you've got one of the earlier versions of that. And this one does not have a hole for the pin in here. So you can see that was not an original thing with the Swisschamp or the Plus scales. That's something they added later. But there's no hole for a pin in these scales. The next layer is the chisel, followed by the fine screwdriver. No hook on this one because it's from before 1991. And then followed by finally the reamer with a hole in it, since this is after 1985. And as far as scale tools, you have tweezers, a toothpick, and a small ballpoint pen, which is great if you just need to sign something and forgot your pen or something like that. Now let's move on to the actual SOS kit itself, since we're already 8 minutes into a video and haven't even mentioned the thing the video is actually about. So the SOS kit was this basic leather sheath, had a main pocket for the knife. The flap has a pouch here that bandages were stored in, and it has side flaps in here. There's one for, I think, safety pins go in here, a sharpening stone, and a mechanical pencil or a pen, depending on which year you've got, go in there. And over here, we've got a place where matches are stored, and supposed to be where the compass is stored, but I'll explain why my compass is not stored there. So this case comes with this little pack, just has a couple of bandages in it, has a little card you can write your name and address on, and there's some graphing paper in there, which might be great if you're kind of trying to figure out where you're at and trying to keep track of where you've been and need to draw some kind of rudimentary map. And to go with that, it has a small mechanical pencil. There's no lead in this right now, but you would just put your normal mechanical pencil lead in there and it should work just fine. Comes with a small amount of string, which, you know, it's better to have than not to have. I don't know what you would really do with this. You might be able to get some kind of rudimentary like structure up. Say you had a rain poncho and wanted to set it up to, you know, I don't know, but it's better to have than not to have is my opinion on that. Here is the sharpening stone that came with it. Just very simple, you know, just a medium grit. You know, it'll be serviceable. It's not going to put a razor edge on it, but you'd definitely be happy to have it if you were stuck in the field, knowing the Swiss Army knives don't have the hardest steel in the world. It's got this little mini pack of matches. They've degraded to nothing. I believe they were water resistant at one point, but I mean, they were over 30 years old at this point, so I wouldn't expect much from them. A couple of safety pins that come stashed with it. And finally, the little compass and ruler. Now, this is not what originally came with it. This is the one I bought aftermarket. This one I got a deal on. It did not come with the compass. The original compass actually has a smaller ruler and just a compass. It does not have the magnifying glass or thermometer like this. But I found this for a deal, so I grabbed it. And it turns out it doesn't really fit in the SOS kit all that well. Not, at least not properly. I can make it fit in there just fine, but it doesn't fit in the spot where the original compass was meant to go. So I am going to be picking up another one of those compasses. Walmart sells them for like 13 bucks or something like that, so no big deal. I'll get one of them and finish this kit out, and that's it. But yeah, so that's the Swiss Army knife Victorinox SOS kit. As you can see, I don't know if how much of an SOS situation you're going to get out of with that, but it's certainly nothing in there that I wouldn't be happy to have if I wasn't a jam. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Appreciate all the feedback. And I appreciate everybody that's been sharing my content elsewhere. I see that, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Petey Grizz out.